observation of the 3D world into a 2D world and to a very thin, flat 2D world, and the notion of color and the notion of vision and some sort of scientific pseudo exploration of vision. And okay, so I sent Sam a 30-minute compilation of raw footage and also an interview with Wanda, and asked him to sort of just respond to it. And it was only a couple of weeks later he called me and he said, you know, I'm not a art person, but I realized that I saw a book, that a catalog on her work. Well, he didn't call it a catalog. He said, I saw a book on her work like 10 years ago, and I love her work. And he bonded really deeply immediately to her work. Partway through the film, we went back and asked for some darker music, maybe picking up on some of the ideas of fear or risk. And Sam always came through amazingly. Jared Rabb is the editor, and Jared's actually not that long out of BFA. He only finished 2 years ago. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic editor. The film wouldn't look like what it looks like without him. And Jared also has a really good sense of the music. So, so when you go back to your question, he responded, like, first he knew the topics of the film before the footage of the film, and then he saw the footage of the film, and then he gradually realized that he actually knew Wanda's work. And he also likes the immersiveness of an experience, you know, so he likes the approach of that. And he gave us a lot more music. The saddest day for me was the day I had to leave on the editing floor. The song he composed, I asked him to compose a song on the color chart. I took a color chart, and he composed a song, and he had a singer sing the color chart. Viridian green, every day a darker red. It was a beautiful song, but it didn't make the film.
A lot didn't make the film.
A lot didn't make the film.
I'm curious, did the shift work lead to large canvas, small canvas? What resulted from
I painted small canvases and followed my process and painted some large canvases, which I'm continuing to work with. Although the work has shifted, and I feel I'm on the verge of creating another sort of visual vocabulary for myself that isn't directly linked to the actual ship or the experiential work. It's more, I'm using the drip as a drawing vehicle. And so the work is changing actually quite rapidly, and it will end up in some major body of work.
We went on the ship because Wanda said I could make a film about her, but I couldn't film her painting. So, yeah, why? Yeah?
Just wondering, that it's quite fascinating to see those pictures of you when you're really young and painting and your trips. Do you feel like this chronological growth in your work, like the film makes it look like, or do you feel more like it's coming
No,
back?
there's definitely a chronological build. I think, I remember when I was younger and I painted my Raven painting. It was shown here at the Glenbow in 84, something like that, or maybe even earlier, 83. And I remember painting the painting and looking at it and thinking, oh my God, what have I done? And leaving the studio, I had to leave the studio. It felt so strong and so something outside of what I thought I was capable of. And that moment and that work then carried over into the next work. And I carry all my history with me. And I think I'm a better artist now than I ever have been. Although what I do is somewhat cyclical. I do go back and sort of look at earlier work, and I find myself sometimes seemingly at a similar place, but it's on another level. It's moved to another place.
We definitely wanted to talk about the notion of the road trip. It's a boat trip, but I wanted to kind of honor and witness those early trips, because I knew how fundamental they were in Wanda's way of working. That she really did, you know, go out and draw and paint for months on a time in that van. Yeah. Oh, we got one over, where's that? Over there, and then one back there.
Was the Wanda the first time that you showed publicly, or what was that story?
Pardon me?
I'm curious about the beginning of the time when you started showing publicly. Was the Wanda the first time?
My first exhibition was when I was 19 years old at the Winnipeg Art Gallery. And I remember at the time thinking it's really easy to get a show. And I'm recently, actually at present, I have an exhibition at the National Gallery of Canada, and I'll be 60 this year. So it's been a long journey.
And there was a question up here somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question regarding the shapes that you use on top of your paintings. What is the meaning behind making them such kind of stark, bright colors, like reds and oranges and yellows? And because I know you were talking about in the film how you took it from those old television kind of clips, and those are pretty neutral colors, but you chose to present them as these really, really bright and contrasting colors. And can you speak about why you did this?
Well, I think it's sort of that interface between something to sort of jar the viewer. A lot of the work that I did, I started with the landscape as the base, thinking of the landscape as us. And then if we look at technology, it's also us. And by imposing the two, or superimposing one on the other, it becomes, for me, a visual sort of maybe iconographic image of where we find ourselves, or where I think we are. We're technological beings, and we're natural. We're of this earth.
Yep. There? Oh, there and there. Okay, we'll go there first, yeah.
Wanda, I wanted to ask you, like, when you said that you take little notes, and then when you present, you're in front of this huge canvas. I'm curious, like, do you take those little notes and then you just make them bigger, or do you just like feel something and then you just like go at it?
When I make the notes, I'm already thinking in terms of color. Color is the vehicle for me, so it may be a small shorthand note, but I'm thinking in color. And when I make a large painting, I paint on the floor, so I'm not really seeing the painting. But I've done many, many notes, many drawings. I repeat certain images over and over and over with variables so that I get a true understanding. And the images that I continue with are the ones I'm engaged with, that I keep being engaged with, that I leave the studio and I'm still thinking about them, so I continue with them. And when I actually start to paint a large painting, I guess a way to describe it is I decide that I'm working towards a certain painting, and I meditate, I guess. It's a form of meditation before I start. And it's a bit like when you're young and you're going to take a driver's license test, and you envision in your head all the route you're going to take, and how you're going to turn right and how you're going to turn left, and all the things that you're going to do. That's a very simple way of putting it, but I actually visualize how I'm going to lay down certain layers of paint, how much saturation, how much I'm going to leave so that the next layer will come through, the first layer will come through. So it's a kind of a visualizing of a strategy of how to achieve an end. But then when I actually do start to paint, I build the painting itself, or the actual surface becomes very small. Like I think of it as something handheld, something quite intimate. And my brain, because I'm not really seeing as I'm painting,